You're listening to ThatMetalStation.com.
All right, you're listening to the Metal Mike Show with your host, DJ Metal Mike, and tonight my special guest is Jason Hardouin of Becoming, singer, founder, multi-instrumentalist, and creative force for the band Becoming. And I gotta say, dude, before we get started, I wish a motherfucker would.
Yeah, I wish a motherfucker would too, Metal Mike. It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me on. Love what you're doing, and yeah, I wish a motherfucker would.
Well, and it's great because I loved that video because I watched the one with all the, intros and stuff, and I was like, holy shit, man. He's got, I mean, you had Jason Bittner of Overkill.
I love him. He's so nice.
And when he in Shadows Fall,
he was.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, and then of course we got.
And he's a fellow Jason too. So
yeah, you gotta show him love for that right there.
Yeah, he's an amazing talent. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that video, Wish. It was originally I started out. I was like, I was playing a hip hop beat one day in my studio, and I was like, I'm just gonna record it. This is like my favorite hip hop beat, that I know. But I metaled it up, and I was like, I just wanted to get this bounce thing going. And then I'm like, okay, what is this song gonna be? And then I just dropped this like nasty bass line on it, and then I put the guitar, and then I started, well, what is it gonna be lyrically? Because sometimes I'll save the lyrics till last. I just want to focus on the music. And then I was talking with one of my friends, one of those guys that worked for me, So with my day job, I manage a sales team for a cybersecurity company.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and so this one guy on my team is hella cool. I just love this guy. Him and I are talking. We're having a little smoke break, and he just ended up saying, "I wish a motherfucker would," and then we started laughing, and I got to thinking about the concept. Like whenever you hear somebody go, "Oh, I wish a motherfucker would," it's like start a fight, do something bad, something negative,
right?
And so I was like, let me just turn that around, because me, I try to be a positive person.
Well, that's one of the things I noticed in a lot of the lyrical content of your music on this album is and I love that, man. I love, like, some of my favorite artists or bands are people like Kirk Windstein from Crowbar or
I love those guys. I got a Crowbar story we'll come back to later.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And about and even like Mike Muir, Cecil Tenses, Jamie Joster from Hatebreed, where they've seen a lot of positive stuff, and they've seen about overcoming, adversity, and because let's be honest, man, life has a way of just kicking you in the dick sometimes, man, or the vag for you ladies out there, and but you can't wallow in it. You got to get you got to get back up. You got to brush yourself off, put your big boy pants or your big girl pants on, and try it again, and that's what I loved about, like, a lot of the lyrical content on your album. It was very, and also even older school metal bands, like, say, Judas Priest with, like, songs like United and stuff. I love that, and I kind of miss that in metal. It seems like a lot of metal nowadays it always focuses more on the violence and the negative, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about that, too. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not. Yeah,
and everybody's like screaming at you, like everybody's screaming at the listener.
Honest,
like I'm screaming with the listener. I'm screaming for the listener. Like Becoming, I founded this band, and I was always, on this trip where it's like, I've had fans recently say, "Dude, this shit's like getting me so pumped up. It's like Tony Robbins and shit," and like, and so I have coined the term. I didn't invent the term metal for life, but in the context that I use it, I did, right? So it's metal to help you through life. So, it's like I grew up, and while I was going through my, at any point in life, there was something going on in my life or in my world, and I'd always find some music to relate, and it kind of helps you through it, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
And these things resonate with people. So, I, purposefully and consciously make this music this way, because I want to give back to metal what it gave me. And there's the world doesn't need another metal band standing in front of a flaming green screen singing about nonsense and negativity and ain't about shit,
right?
what the world needs is people who are trying to like actively lift people up and help to elevate the consciousness. And that's why, you know, this next album I'm working on right now, I'll tell it right here, is like the title of the next album is going to be Consciousness Revolution. And this is a concept that I've been, you know, preaching about for, you know, and sharing for a long time. It's just, at the end of the day, just don't be a dick. Don't be a shitty person. Try to live a karmically clean life. You know, what can you give back? You know, because, you know, again, the world doesn't need, you know, more like songs about things that are just overly negative and have been done a million times, right? I mean, let's just face it, as a genre, metal gets a bad rap out there, you know,
sure,
to the mainstream or whatever. But and who cares ultimately? But I'm trying to like elevate metal, period, right? So I mean, I've got fans. People, I call them the fans, the Becoming Tribe, and it's a global tribe, man. It's
right on.
Like, you know, on Facebook we just hit 125,000, and you know, on Instagram we're hitting like 80K or something like that. But in my interactions with the fans, they're all over the world, man. I mean, I'm talking to get messages from people in like Tibet, you know, and
awesome,
in Indonesia,
dude.
And like just, you know, the South American fans, they're just hardcore. It's just like,
oh,
know,
yes, they are. They love their metal
global
down there in South America,
dude.
Man.
And, hey, another place that kind of tripped me out, I was like, damn, we got a lot of fans in India. Like, what's that about?
India,
you know, and I started
there's
like
a lot of metalheads in there, over there
dude,
too, man.
Dude, yeah. And so it's this thing that strikes a chord with people, right? And you know, of course, our album imagery sort of, you know, with the meditative, you know, and chakras, spiritual, non-religious type vibe that we got. It resonates with people, but you know, when I'm talking to people around the world, it's just like they're like, dude, this song is like on point. And like, I was struggling with something, and thank you. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, like that's, you know, that just blows me away every time.
That is the ultimate compliment, man. I don't think you can get any higher compliment. I mean, for me, any you know, I've been listening to metal since I was kind of like you. I'm sure, you know, I started off young. You know, my first gateway band was Kiss. You know, my big brother brought home Kiss Alive, and it was over, dude. And then after that, my
mom had the Kiss double platinum on vinyl.
Nice.
I remember being a little kid, and like, you know, she had this record collection that had everything from Boston and Fleetwood Mac. But then I just pulled out.
I love that stuff too, man.
Yeah, totally. But you know, you pull out, you know, double platinum. It's just like this big silver thing, and it folds out like with two discs, two vinyls, and I was like, whoa! And it had all the members in there, and then the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park hit TV, and I was like, oh, these guys are crazy. But you know, and when you look back, you know, it's like their music doesn't sound like they look, you know, maybe God of Thunder or some of that stuff, but you know, it's like, but it was the gateway, right? And then later on, you know, I got to give credit to my older brother. You know, he whooped my ass for like breaking into his room and stealing his audio cassettes and stuff. But I mean, he had everything. My brother is like the ultimate music connoisseur, and if I was ever going to go on one of those game shows where like name that tune, I would totally bring him. You know?
That's awesome. Awesome.
But like, as I grew, you know, I got into like, started taking lessons. I was like, okay, I loved Dawkins, I loved Motley Crue, I loved early Metallica, you know, and then Satriani and all these the really proficient, you know, musicianship and stuff. And then it was just like, oh, Pantera and Slayer and Exodus, and you know, you could just go on and on. But you know, but I was always kind of drawn to the bands that had like some musical prowess to them, and they actually like they thought about like, you know, a song, right? Another band that just doesn't get enough love, you know, was Forbidden.
I love Forbidden. Dude, I'm a huge thrash metal enthusiast, and when I saw that you were from San Jose and your age, I gotta ask you. It's one of the questions I got on my list, man. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No, go on.
What was it like growing? And honestly, I mean, by time I'm sure Kill 'Em All that came out, you were like what, maybe 9 years old. So, but how old? I mean, you had to have been there at least for the second, for your Forbiddens and your Death Angels and those bands. Like, what was that like 14, man? Like, I would have loved to have been there during that time period, man.
Well, it was funny because my brother, he's 4 years older, right? And he'd be like going to concerts and shit, and then I'd be like, I'd tell my mom, I'm like, make him take me, you know, make him take me with him. And so when he could, he would, you know, begrudgingly or not, but he's like my best friend these days. And it's like throughout my life, you know, like he was always a big part of like the road management or like helping to manage and like take care of the band and shit, all like head of security and this and that over the years. And but anyway, he just had all kinds of music, and I remember I would get to go shows at like the Stone and the Omni and the One Step Beyond, you know, and Berkeley Square.
Dude,
like
that's
later
awesome.
Later on, I actually, you know, was in bands. I got to actually play at like the Berkeley Square. One time we played with Crowbar, right? I'll bring that Crowbar story in real quick. And I remember the stage was really small, and you know, our gear was just chalk right at the very front, and like we had like 2 inches of stage. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go knock on the bus door, and I'm just gonna ask Crowbar to move their shit back. I don't know what I was thinking. So I did. I went and knocked on the door. I was like, hey, Kurt brought me on the bus. And he just like chatted up. He was like, oh, cool. I'm like, yeah, we got barely any room. We got like 4 or 5 guys here, you know, like, can you hook it up and push everything back? He's like, no problem, dude. And he had the road crew come out and pull all their shit back and gave us some more stage space. But one of the nicest fucking guys, just, it meant a lot.
That is, you hit the nail on the head. He is, man. I've met Kurt several times. I'm Facebook friends with him. He's one that I need to hit up for an interview. But it's like Crowbar's like one of my all-time favorite bands, like, you know, and I'm always like, I mean, I know I'm being silly, but I'm like, man, when I do finally interview him, I got to be like cool, because I don't want to be like Chris Farley with the, you remember when you said all I had is I gave? That was awesome. You know what I mean? So
down by the river.
right, you know, so it's kind of like, all right, man, you know, but yeah, he's such a good guy, man. Kirk's a really cool class act, very approachable.
And for me, that means a lot, right? Because, you know, my band was always the one that the local club owners are like, yo, we're going to put you as the opener on the national show, because we know you actually get off your butt and you go out there and you promote the show and you bring heads to the concert, so you know that the nationals get a good show. So I got to open for Testament many times, Exodus, you know, name it along the way, yeah. And, you know, growing up, I actually got to take guitar lessons from Alex Skolnick. Yeah, he was teaching out the back of Subway Guitars in Berkeley, and, you know, I showed up my first lesson. It's a funny story. He goes, I showed up, I had my Slayer shorts on and my guitar, and I was high as fuck, you know, and I go in, and he goes, let me tell you something. Don't show up stoned ever again.
Oh.
So do you own a metronome? I'm like, no. He's like, you better buy one before the next lesson. So do you know your theory? I'm like, well, kinda. He's like, well, we're gonna focus on that. If you want to be better and get past, you know, like Slayer, you got to learn this shit. I was like, whoa.
So he's like,
so he broke it down, dude.
He's all business. He's like the big teacher that's like, here it is, man.
He's right, like, don't spend your money on stupid shit and drugs. He's like, I bought a Volvo. I'm saving, you know, money. Yeah. You know? I was just like, wow, dude, this is like an eye-opener. But I was really grateful for that experience.
That's
because
awesome, yeah.
It stuck with me over the years, you know. So, because I've always been the guy, you know, that's, you know, not only the creative force, but like the business end of it, right? Everything that comes to becoming is through my efforts. It's like sweat equity, right? You know, nothing just happens. You just have to go out and promote and stuff like that. But being able to open for all these bands and sneaking into the clubs to see these bands and stuff when I was growing up is just, I'm very grateful for that, because, you know, looking back, and especially with the way the world is today, like, you don't really get those opportunities.
Right
on. But yeah,
the
ones that there's that saying, like, you know, you can't be what your idols are, you know, to quote Pantera. Or even meeting your idols, I was often disappointed, you know, like meeting somebody in a band you looked up to and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of a dick, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we had some run-ins with some of the bigger bands, you know, when we were opening for them, and like, you know, like Cannibal Corpse was like, you can't park your car by the back door, you got to park down the street. I'm like, bro, it's raining and we got to move a drum kit and some guitar amps, and he's like, I don't care, you know. I was just like, geez, you know. But so I always try to like pay it forward, you know, be nice when you can, you know, just, you know, you don't need to be that way, especially when you're out there hustling and working, right? You want to feel appreciated, and, you know, you're there to do a show, and, you know, let's make it fun for everybody, right?
Right. Positive vibes, brother. I'm all about it, man. That's awesome.
Straight up. Yes, sir.
So basically, besides, you know, obviously growing up on that, and you've just mentioned of several bands, one of the questions I did have was, what other artists or bands are your musical influences? Like bands that you're like, okay, man, I cherry pick from this guy, and I cherry pick from that lady, or whoever it could be. What would they be?
Wow. So, I mean, I listen to so much different music. It's like I barely listen to a lot of the newer metal that comes out. I mean, occasionally when I'm driving, I hear Sirius XM, you know, or whatever radio station I'm listening to, or any internet radio that I'm broadcasting. And so I'll hear all these other bands and stuff. But there's just so much stuff that sounds the same these days, I feel like. And it's just...
Yeah. I mean, there are some good bands out there. That's one thing I can say, you know, being the co-owner of a website and an online radio station, because we get a lot of music sent to us. And I got to say, like, some of the new wave of thrash metal stuff's really great. And there's a lot of, like, I've noticed, like, doom metal and stoner metal with female singers and stuff. And I'm loving
that's the thing now, right? The thing
is,
like, now it's like, let's get a girl singer, and, you know, like, some people will think that they can get popular just off of having a girl singer, you know, and,
but I mean,
they're
like Ruby the Hatchet and Drug Cult and some pretty cool stuff, man.
I think of like OTEP, dude. She was a pioneer, you know,
and sure. She's
OTEP,
in your video.
And you got. Right, she's awesome. And then you got like Arch Enemy, right? Like they had two female singers, and then the one that's impressive now that I hear is Logan's band, former Machine Head guy Logan Mader. His band Once Human.
Yes.
That's his wife. He's like, yeah, baby, you sing for the band, you know. But it's just like they're doing something really cool. From like, I don't care what gender the singer is, as long as like the singer's like singing about something good, and like, you know, is doing more than just like like the whole time, right?
Right.
I like to be able to understand when someone's singing, and
I hear you, man. And I'm a guy, like, I don't mind aggressive vocals, but I gotta understand what the other person is saying, and secondly, I do like to see vocalists that have range. And again, it all just depends on what kind of mood I'm in as well. But some of the bands.
To your question.
I'm sorry.
About to your question about like favorite like inspirations and artists and stuff. Like, you know, when I was growing up, like I said, I loved like the guitar players. So like George Lynch and Joe Satriani and these guys, and Alex Skolnick. These were like my favorite guitar players. And you know, but I was really into like Pink Floyd, and I was really into like, I mean, like, I like a lot of like the 70s funk. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it, but, you know.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That stuff's great too, man.
I think that, like, I think it depends on like which instrument I'm thinking of. It's like when I'm in the mood to play bass, I'm thinking like, you know, Fantastic Voyage, you know, and like Gap Band and things like that back in the day. But I was always into like Pink Floyd. I was down with like Fleetwood Mac in the early years, and like the drummer Mick Fleetwood, his drumming was always like really, really cool.
Right on.
Got into things like Billy Joel, not metal but still cool, right?
Yes, very much so.
You know, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, those dudes,
Love them.
And then. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm not big on Springsteen. He's okay. When it comes to blue collar rock, I mean, I'm not a Springsteen hater. I don't take that the wrong way. But I'm more of a Bob Seger kind of guy.
I love Seger, dude. Love Seger, and
yeah, my mom and dad used to listen to a lot of those bands. So a lot of the bands, I'm going, holy shit, dude! Like we could be brothers. Like you're singing shit that I'm going,
like some Grand Funk Railroad, dude. Some Steely Dan and all this type of stuff.
And like when you mentioned the funk, I can definitely hear it in the music. But I mean, come on, you had Bootsy Collins in your video, dude. I mean, like,
Bootsy's the shit, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Bootsy's
come on,
the shit.
He's Funkadelic and what is it, the Parliament, and he played with James Brown too. I mean, that guy is legend.
Jump back, I'll kiss myself. I love all that stuff. I love anything that's got like a lot of musicality to it, and just it takes you away from the everyday, right? So it can't be cliche. I mean, every genre's got like a couple bands that rise to the top, and those are the bands I'm like, okay, yeah, that's my reference point. But one of my favorite metal singers, early on was Dio. I was like, man, that guy's got some pipes, and Bruce Dickinson. I mean, I don't sing like those guys, but I love the way they sing.
Oh, me too, man. Rob Halford, I mean,
yeah. You know who was a badass singer was the guy from Sabotage, not John Olivetti. Right? I mean, he's good in his own right, but like after the guitar player from Sabotage died, Alex Skolnick jumped in and did that album,
I can't remember
Handful of Rain with them.
Yeah.
Zach something I think is his name but he did the Edge of Thorns album and he did Handful of Rain, and that guy's voice is just epic. Great singer,
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so I always liked like Metallica and Slayer and Pantera, for the heavier stuff, and early Sepultura and Death. Those were like my heavy bands. And Anthrax, got a shout out to Anthrax.
Oh, of course, Joey Belladonna. Hell yeah. Man.
Yeah, and the John Bush era.
Oh, hey,
both.
Okay, I'm that guy that I hate to say I'm that guy that to me Joey's Anthrax. But with that being said, I totally have all the respect in the world for Armored Saint.
Yeah, I think of the Anthrax
that's
John
Armored
Bush.
That's Armored Thrax to me. That's what my nickname
I was just thinking
is,
that. Yes.
Yeah.
On point. That's how I would describe it too.
Yes.
Like, I feel the same. I mean, I got to see Anthrax with John Bush singing at the Stone in San Francisco in a tiny ass club, and I mean, he came out, dude. He just fucking killed it. I was like, wow, these guys are just on it. And Charlie from Anthrax, that guy is just like so talented. He plays every instrument. I love the stuff he did during the pandemic, and all the silver linings and stuff like that. And he's I don't know if they're married, but he's in a relationship with what's her name from the Butcher Babies. So Charlie's out there doing his thing, and he's doing well.
Hey man, the Anthrax guys are awesome. I've seen them live several times. Great band. And I'm going to see Armored Saint for the first time this fall, and I'm really looking forward to that. Oh yeah, man. Them and Wasp, which I'd never seen Wasp, even though I'm like, well, I'm with Chris Holmes, just kind of the Blackie Lawless solo band now. But I think personally, not to talk shit, but I think Armored Saint's probably going to blow Wasp off the stage. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I think they're going to. Yeah.
No, I think so. I mean, Blackie's got some shit to prove right now. Like, I saw Wasp at the One Step Beyond, a small little club in San Jose, and I think it was the Headless Children album.
Oh, nice.
And dude, they came out and they put it down, and I was like, wow, Wasp was like, But then I didn't really like any of the albums after Headless Children. Like,
Me
that was
too.
where I stopped.
That's my end point, bro.
Yeah, my brother, he goes on and on. No, man, this is the best. It's all like, rock opera type shit. And I'm like, it kind of loses me.
Crimson to Idol just didn't grab me, man. I understand what he was trying to do, but I really wish he would have went with his instincts and made that a Blackie Lawless solo album. I think I would have been able to be more open to it.
Can't we get like another Wild Child? Can't we get another,
I'd love another first album, man. I think that first album's just a stone cold metal classic.
Yeah, I remember my brother got that on vinyl. It was like an import. It was like the white vinyl, and I remember he put it on at my grandma's house, and my grandma just freaked out. She's like, "What are you guys? What is it? You guys shouldn't be listening to this."
Oh, right, yeah.
So
Thank God for older brothers, right? My big brother too. And then, like I said, I had a neighbor across the street. He was our musical mentor too, because my older brother was 3 years older than me. And when he brought home Kiss Alive, me and my twin brother, all three of us became obsessed with Kiss. And Kevin was like, dude, Kiss is cool, but there's other fucking bands, and he's the guy that introduced us to Sabbath and Zeppelin and Aerosmith. My cousin introduced me to Priest and Alice Cooper, so I got to experience a lot of hard rock and metal at a very, very young age. You know, I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was lucky. You know, so.
I think like a lot of people, like they're like today, I feel like there's like this love-hate for Kiss, right? There's the diehards have been into them since the early years, and then there's the youngsters that are just discovering them, and they're kind of cool like a cartoon. But like as a businessman, I look at Kiss and go like, damn, Gene Simmons, go on, dude. Like that guy. I mean, they merchandised everything, licensed everything. I mean, they're a freaking like that's
right.
You know, I mean, some people could argue, oh, like, do you really need Kiss condoms and do you need Kiss lunch boxes or whatever?
People are willing to pay for it, though. You know.
Yeah.
I
true fans.
Like, I love Kiss. I mean, they're my gateway band. But I got to be honest with you. The last time I saw Kiss was at the farewell tour. Okay, and I'm talking the real farewell tour. I'm not talking about what they're doing now, and I'm not. You know, anybody, especially somebody who's younger, who didn't really get to see Kiss, and they want to get an idea of what it might have been like, by all means, go see them. You know, I'm not telling anybody they can't, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, for me, I'm like, but I still love them, I mean, I always will, because they broke my metal cherry, so to speak, really. I heard Deuce, and it was over, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm talking from Alive. I'm talking because the Alive version of those songs is just so much heavier and rock.
That was the thing too. Like I remember recently, I listened to some old Kiss, or I watched some old Kiss footage on YouTube. I mean, YouTube's got everything, but I'm thinking it was like mid to early '80s, and Paul Stanley came out and he killed it, dude. Like, I mean, the guy in his prime.
Yeah.
Amazing vocalist, to sing live is not always easy, right? But, he was just nailing it every time, Now they may or may not be using backing tracks. I don't know. I don't really care, but, the guy's voice, the guy's voice is the guy's voice, man, It's like, but when you see a concert, you want to see him perform the stuff, right? Right. Just hear the album. That's what listening parties are for, Right
on. And it's funny that you were mentioning Alex Skolnick and him being an influence, because I've always said that to my ears, and again, I'm just a humble fan. I'm not a musician at all. But to my ears, I think he may be the greatest thrash metal guitarist not named Dave Mustaine. You know what I'm trying to say?
You know what?
He's fucking amazing. He is so good, man.
I mean, he does he's got his trio, the jazz trio. He's done a lot of stuff, He did this world music album a while back that I was just like, fuck yeah, good for him, dude. It's like, you can't just be one trick pony, right?
No. And he is definitely not that.
I mean, he even did, and then Good, Bad, or Indifferent, right? Like about that rap song he made recently with all the political stuff. But, I mean, I see what he was doing, and, good for him, he's not scared to just, like, make music, you know what I mean? There's, like, so many, like, wish a motherfucker would, right? There's so many bands out there that are really, like, they'll hate on other things either because they don't understand it or because it ain't them, right? They didn't do it, they didn't think of it,
right?
And it's like, not every death metal band wants to make a rap song that's super ultra political, but, like, I just think you have to, like, look at, for me, I wish everybody success. I wish everybody enjoys whatever they're doing,
About what that song was like, I'm like, wow, he took that play and made a play on words and made like, hey, I wish people would, find your purpose that's what I get out of your music. Like, find your purpose, find whatever it is that you love to do, and go all out.
Yeah,
basically go balls deep.
Tune,
that's
man.
what I get out of it. If you're a guy,
right on point.
But yeah,
you're on point, man.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? It's like, everybody struggles with matters of, like, the heart and soul and, like, surviving in this world and the ultimate questions of, like, who am I? Why am I here? Like, it's a crazy big world, and, like, everybody's just, trying to make it through the world, right? Whatever that means to each person is up to them, but, like, while you're here, you might as well enjoy it as much as you can, It's like, whenever adversity strikes, I always tell my kids, right? And I tell the team, people I manage at work, I'm like, the champ gets back up, the chump stays down. There's always, the one thing you can count on is there's always going to be some adversity or some storm
Sure.
that you gotta weather, right? So
Sure.
being able to like just be strong and just be here now and like get through it, get through the now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, hell yeah, and I love the fighting metaphor because, you know, my dad was a big boxing fan, so I, you know, always watched the fights with him. When I still do to this day, and you know, some of my favorite fighters were guys that didn't always win their fights, but they showed heart. You know,
Yeah.
I love athletes that show heart and guts and put it all out there and do the very best you can. And hey, man, if
Yep.
it ain't your day, it ain't your day. But you know what? You get back up and you know you try it again. You know, and
So
to me, that's a
whenever
true
I-
champion.
Totally, right? It's like, you know, I got friends that are totally sports fanatics and, you know, what's your favorite football team, man? I'm like, I don't really have one. I just want to see a good game. I just want to see a good game. I don't want to see the game where everybody's just mailing it in. I want to see people come up and just go hard as fuck. You know what I mean? And like,
Right.
wow, win, lose, or draw, you gave it all and you left it out there on the field. You know what I mean?
Hell
And
yeah.
so, like, that's, you know, it's like, that's the true competition, right? Do you want to beat somebody when they're, like, disadvantaged? Like, do
Right.
you want to, like, if, you know, you're like, oh, okay, like, that's like picking on, like, a senior picking on a first grader or something. That's silly, right?
Right.
I want to see somebody who's fully equipped, driving the same car, in the same race.
Right.
That's when the true competition. And I always say, the best competition is actually beating your own best effort. It's not about beating someone else because then someone's got to lose,
Hell
right?
yeah,
If you can
dude.
work
Hell
it out
yeah.
to where it's like a win-win and everybody comes up, then hey, great. I mean, unless you're competing for a deal or whatever, you know, it's like, but at least, you know, fight ethically and fair, right?
Sure.
But yeah,
Right on,
I'm all
man.
about it, man.
That's awesome,
outdo your
dude.
best effort every day, you know.
And it's interesting that you mentioned you had a day job because I guess I work actually 12-hour nights, but my day, I'm a nurse. That's what I do when I'm not doing.
Yeah, my
this.
mom was a nurse for
Yeah.
her career, you know, and she
Yeah.
did hospice care and all that. And, you know, I got nothing but respect and love for the nurses, you know. I mean, I had, you know, my 40s, but I had some health problems a couple years ago. And, like, you know, when you're in the hospital and they're, like, doing surgery on you and, like, doing all this, like, those nurses, you want to like the nurses. You want them
Oh,
to,
yeah.
like, know what they're doing and, like, they're there, you know.
Right.
They're, like, the unsung heroes of the medical profession, I feel like, you know.
Well, yeah, we pretty much are. Thank you for saying that,
Mhm.
Jason. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Anyway, man, since we've been talking about Wish a Motherfucker Would, that's the song we're going to play right here, folks. This is Wish from Becoming, from their latest album, In the Name of God, right here on ThatMetalStation.com.
Wish a motherfucker would be thankful. Wish a motherfucker would be grateful. Wish a motherfucker
was awesome, dude. Really cool song. Like I said, I really love the message behind it and everything. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album for sure, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. When I originally wrote it, I wasn't, I was like, oh, okay, this is what the song is turning into, and I just went for it, and growing up here in the Bay Area, it's like, I got a lot of friends that are in the hip hop scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like a lot of, the old school, like rap and hip-hop.
Thank you that you said old school. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
I'm not into much mumble rap and things like that.
I don't get that. What's with all this mumble music, man? It's not just rap. I'm like, they're mumbling. I don't get it.
Well, we got that in heavy metal too, though, right?
I know.
Like how many heavy metal bands are there where you can't understand a fucking word they say, and then when you read the lyrics, you're like, dude, I don't want to listen to this shit. Like, what is this? It's like, what are you, the boogeyman? You're like some hardcore. Like, it's like, come on, stop.
Well, here's another thing I think that's kind of like, and to me, it's the music that matters the most. But it's one thing that my big brother, David Tyler, who's going to be editing this whole thing, he's also known as Scapegoat. That's his handle, because he's like one of my frequent guests on the show, and he gets tired of the whole satanic devil trope. He's like, okay, guys, it's fucking played out. It was cool in 1983. It's not that cool anymore. But like he said, like if the song's still good and it's strong enough, I'll overlook it. But there are times where my brother, especially, just kind of almost roll his eyes, like, okay, can't we sing about something else besides, like you just said, ooh, the boogeyman, ooh, the devil.
Could it be?
And I definitely get his point, where it's like, okay, man, there's other things to sing
fire
about,
and skulls and fire and skulls and like hell.
Right, it's like,
okay,
all right,
well,
cool, man, but what about, like,
there's a market for that, but that market is like, whatever it is, and I'm not trying to insult anybody. I want everybody to rock. My thing is,
there's room enough for all kinds of hard rock and metal.
Yeah.
And I have DJs that do play that really extreme metal, the grindcore and the fucking brutal death metal and and some of it, like I with my death metal, I like the Obituaries and your Entombs.
Yeah, old school, dude.
Those are the bands that I still to this day gravitate towards when it comes to death metal, man. I don't really, like you mentioned them earlier, I'm not a big Cannibal Corpse fan. Sorry, folks, but I'm not. I never have been. I think they got some great riffs, man, but the vocals kind of turn me off, to be honest with you. It's just too much, man. I respect their talent. I'm not
Who wants to hear about getting fucked with a knife? And then if you are the person that's like totally like, this is my favorite song, it's called Fucked with a Knife, you're like, whoa, bro. Like,
all right, man.
I don't know. Okay, good for you.
All right, man. Is your name Jack?
I'll be inviting you over to my house later.
Is your name Jack the Ripper, or are you related to him? Like, yeah, bro.
Well, it's like everybody has different tastes. Like, so some people like horror movies, some people like comedy, some people like romantic movies, whatever. I'm like a documentary guy, and like I like to watch, different things, and
sure.
But I've just never been one for like the blood and guts and the gore, fire, skulls, and hell. It's like I feel like it's just been done so much.
Right. Most for me, when it comes to horror, I'm a guy that likes the supernatural type stuff. Vampires, werewolves, and demonic possession, shit like that.
That shit's scary.
That to me, I love.
If
like
like
American Werewolf in London is one of my all-time favorite movies.
If you ever met somebody who'd been possessed by a demon, it's fucking, you'll freak out, dude. That shit's, there's no clearer distinction to like what in the hell. Like, okay, you could think about life, death, the afterlife, all of this type of stuff. Good spirits, bad spirits, demons, this, that, witchcraft, whatever. All I know definitively is that there's more than we see here, right?
Sure.
And I'm not a big religious guy, even though I did after I had kids and stopped doing music, I actually ended up recruited to play in the church band. So one weekend I'd play guitar, the next weekend I'd play bass, the next weekend I'd play drums, but I was like feeding my music habit just, at that point in time. And, I got fired from the church band because I decided to bring the double bass pedal and just make God of Wonders, like, it was a double bass. But in any case, I got to see a lot of behind the scenes and stuff like that. And a lot of the times it's like a vain pursuit, right? Like a lot of people saying, oh, Jesus said this. Did he really say that? I don't know. Like, and it's always people using like in the name of God, right? It's been used so many years as like this, mind control from the books of man, right?
Yep.
Like the man in the sky, right? Just like in the song, the lyrics, I say Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the man in the sky, all collecting your money. I believe that your consciousness and your spirit, right? And the cosmic consciousness being connected to the universe and everything being energy, so balance your chakras and crank your metal, do whatever, but like there's a very much like a self-actualization process that people go through in life, hopefully, where it's like you want to strive for more and you want to, be the best you can be about, anything, right? And for me, it's like live karmically clean, right? Because if there is an afterlife, and you didn't score enough points, then that's on you, right?
Right.
But you have to like live with the consequences, right? So, and you're not going to know what it is until it's your turn. You know what I mean? But there's Well, anyway, that's deep.
Yeah, I
Deep,
read somewhere one time that the atoms in our body were all once part of a star. So I'm like, well, then doesn't that mean we're all kind of connected to the universe? I mean, that's kind of deep when you stop and think about it, man. It's like, whoa,
if you ever watch like Ancient Aliens and anything by Neil deGrasse and all that, where they're talking about we're all made of star stuff, right? And like we are the universe experiencing itself through us at some level, right? And, to get caught up in like the metaphysical part of it or the spiritual part of it, it's like, we've got people who are like, they see the name of the album, in the name of God, and then they see this figure ascending through the clouds with its chakras blazing and Metatron's cube and all the mandalas, and people are like, like the religious people tripped, man. They're like, wow, it's only through Jesus you're saved, and you're trying to teach people self-reliance through your music, and this is metaphysical, spiritual, hippie, new age, and this is evil. And I was like, oh my God. Can you just stop, block, move on? What I'm saying is like, do the best you can with what you got. You don't know what's going to happen later, so live for, today, but prepare for tomorrow, and try to live a good life as you can,
Well, one of my favorite books when I was younger was Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Däniken, man, where he was kind of postulated that some of especially the polytheist gods may have actually been aliens, which, like, again, that ancient aliens show you're talking about, where
the Anunnaki and all these people.
Yeah, and even parts of the Judeo-Christian God, he reads parts of the Torah, the Old Testament, and the New Testament, and where you're going, maybe there is something. Like, I do think there's I mean, it's funny, when I was a kid, of course I went to church like all of us, and, I believed, and then one day I was like, okay, this is kind of like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, which I found very humorous in your song, because I'm like, that's it. It's basically the same thing.
I think that's the first metal song that has ever mentioned Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny.
Which I love it. I love that. And, the fact that, I was like, I don't know about all this. And then being that I'm a nurse, I mean, I see human suffering on a daily basis, man. So when I hear things, like, there's a God, he loves you and everything, it just kind of cracks me up. I mean, whoever he is or whatever he is, he, she, whatever, they got the greatest fucking PR ever. Because if something great happens, it's his will and blessing. But man, if something shitty happens, well, he works in mysterious ways. I'm like, the fuck? Really? Like, okay, man.
Evil exists because God allows it to exist, my son.
Right, and I'm going, okay, that makes absolutely no sense to me then. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And I'm not trying to, piss on anybody's beliefs, because I do believe in freedom of religion and that you have the right to believe in whatever it is. And I do think there is an underlying truth to all of it, because if you look at all the monotheist and polytheist gods, they're very similar. I mean, there's good, there's evil, and every ancient myth and religion has their own version of the end of the world.
Well, just like every country and every culture has their own way of preparing rice. There's always different thing. So, like, even on the verse that I did in the name of God, where I cite 20 or 30 different names of God. I love
that part right there where you're like Yahweh, Buddha, Jah. Yeah, you're mentioning all the different gods. I loved that, Jason. I thought that was really fucking cool. Very cool touch. Very, I was like, Oh, this is awesome, man. I got it instantly. I was like, okay, man. Yeah, this is...
Well, I'm glad. I mean, a lot of people they're like, so when I get somebody, I've determined the rate in hate to be about 1 in 8,000, right? So like every 8,000 or so good messages we get one person or comment that's just like, oh, this is bullshit, satanic music, and oh, it's or just the fact that it says God, like people will automatically like just discount it, like, oh, you guys are a Christian band.
Yeah.
But
right.
Basically, if anything, it's omnism, right? Like I think that there's something good to be found in every religion, right? I mean, but I say, come as you are, worship as you please, believe what you want, But for me, I'm just doing my thing, and I'm like, love all, serve all, bro. Take it back to the
sweet.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel the same way. I feel like everybody's trying to get to the same place. They're just taking different roads to get there, man. That's all.
Yeah.
As long as you try to be a good person, because I hate those pious fucking Bible thumping motherfuckers, but I also have met some Christians that were wonderful people, that they don't just talk the talk. They walk the walk, man. They come
that's
in,
the thing.
The facility I work at, they come in and they visit those old people, and they do things for them, and they help take care of them, and those are real Christians. You know what I'm trying to say?
I love when the religious people stop by my house, right? And they're oh, I'm on a missionary journey, this and that and the other thing. Well, I always bring it back to you got to be a good witness. Jesus and God don't need a PR team. They don't need a sales force. I mean, people are out there doing that of their own, reasoning. Yeah. But the thing is, like, if you're going to believe in, anything, like, I want to see a good representation of it. So, like, if you're like some religious person and you're like, oh yeah, God, but it's like Forbidden had it in one of their songs years ago on the Green album. He says, worshipped on Sunday, forgotten all week. And
that's
so
like, true, man.
Boom, right there.
So true.
Hell
yeah, brother.
So anyway,
but you know what? Speaking,
definitely.
Since we got this metaphysical conversation, why don't we get into the title track of this song, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, duh.
This is In the Name of God by Becoming. Only on not exclusively, but on ThatMetalStation.com. Crank this motherfucker up.
Whoa.
Okay, we're back, man, and that was, of course, the title track from Becoming's latest album, In the Name of God, released in 2020. And one of my questions for you is, when we were recording this, he released it on June 12th, which, by the way, is my older brother's birthday. You know, so that's a good sign.
He's a Gemini.
Yes, and he truly is.
Too.
He is truly a Gemini, man. He's the sweetest guy you'd ever want to meet, but he also has kind of a dark side too, man.
Yeah,
but I love him.
Crunch a
That's my big
spreadsheet like
brother.
nobody's business, I'm sure, dude.
Oh yeah, he's badass.
Very
man.
organized.
Well, and he's
I mean,
very,
if you believe in that sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah, he's very artistic too. Like my brother he can play different instruments. He can draw. He can sculpt. He can paint, airbrush. He's a whiz with the computer and editing. Like the guy is just. He's like that Renaissance man you always hear about. He's good at a lot of different things. Like I'm good at a few things, but this guy, man, he's good at a bunch of things. So,
Nice.
he even did, like for our station, a lot of the graphics and stuff that you see, he designed all that for me. He did all that for me. He does all
Gotta
my
love
sound
brothers,
beds
man.
and my
Shout out to the older brothers
Hey
out
man,
there.
hell yeah!
You know?
He's my big brother, and I love him dearly, and I'd be lost without him, man. So. Got to throw that out there, but yeah,
I feel that.
One of the questions that I also had for you is, I'm sure this thing affected you like it did everybody else. Did the pandemic make you promoting this album any harder? And I know that you, with a few help from your friends, but it seems like a lot of this album was done mostly. Not that I'm disparaging or taking any credit away from anybody else, but it looks like you pretty much did most of the heavy lifting, so to speak.
That's what I do.
So basically,
You know?
when you perform live, and obviously you have because you opened up, I guess do you get hired guns or friends to help you out, or how does that work?
So I've never had to actually hire anybody to play live. I could if I wanted to. I mean, I've got like a lot of friends that are musicians, and like, you know, let's just say my bench is full, right? So like, you know, at any point in time, you know, I can have someone jump in and
That's
do
awesome.
things.
That's great.
But you know, in terms of, you know, writing this album, and even, you know, every Becoming album, I wrote all the music, I wrote all the lyrics, I decided the direction, you know, lyrically, and even from a, you know, branding perspective and things like that, you know. And you know, I've had other folks that play, you know, like on my very first album in like 1998 to 2000, you know, it's basically like a glorified demo, right? It's called Regeneration. Damn thing's a collector's item at this point.
Yeah, I see it's listed right here on Metal or Encyclopedia Metallum. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and so, you know, that's like a glorified demo, you know, like, but we were like the guinea pig band for a recording studio, so we'd like have to like go up there and like, you know, get in after hours and buddy up with the students and like record our stuff. And so, you know, it was basically a glorified demo. And you know, the guys that played with me back then, where they were like some friends from high school, and you know, they didn't really write anything, but you know, over the years, it's just like, you know, See, like the thing about most bands is it's normal everyday life is what ruins most bands, right? So, you know, you have you got the guy who shreds on guitar, but, you know, doesn't have a job, can't show up on time, doesn't bring his own guitar packs, always bumming cigarettes, you know, and weed or whatever, and just always bitching and whining, but can't write a song. But he could play a solo like a motherfucker, right?
Right.
You know, so there's some of those out there, and then you got the other people who are just like, you know, kind of along for the ride, you know.
Sure.
And so, you know, I always was like, you know, guitar players are a dime a dozen. You know, if you can get a good drummer, you know. But I was always like, studio was always at my house, so I would always be playing the drum kit, you know, and things like that. And my first instrument was bass, and it was guitar, and then, you know, I started playing drums, and, you know, today I play guitar, bass, drums, piano. I play the freaking sitar kind of terribly, but I'm learning. I play the Turkish oud, and I got the Chinese gokhin, you know.
Wow.
I love music, and I'm all about the music. I like to just kind of plug in and just, you know, be a conduit to the universe, right? So, you know, as time goes on, you know, certain people stick with you and certain people don't. The one guy that I have, you know, that's officially a band member, his name's Amir Fuladgar. He's our lead guitar player. Yeah. And so, I mean, I do some solos and stuff, but Amir does all like the really killer solos, you know. Awesome. And you know, and then I've had some guest players, you know, over the, you know, years that, you know, hey, you want to drop a solo? You know, like I knew this dude, he had cancer, and he was just like, he's just this amazing player. And I was like, bro, like, I'd be happy to have you do a solo. Let's like memorialize your like amazing solo work, and so he did a solo, right? And so, there's just different people like over the time. So as I'm going through my musical journey over the last however many years, it's like 2022. I'm working on the next album, which is going to be called Consciousness Revolution, and so I'm not a traditional band by any stretch of the imagination. Mm-hmm. And so for my drummer on this next album, I have multiple drummers, but the main drummer I've got is Sticks It In Ya from Steel Panther.
Oh, so that's awesome!
Sticks is so fun, dude. I have so much fun.
Dude, I've seen Steel Panther like twice, and 3 times, and they've been amazing every time.
I don't think a lot of
phenomenal live band. The musicians,
they're so much fun.
They're hilarious.
And humor. You can forget about your troubles and just crack up. But the thing people don't really realize about Styx is he's like a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, businessman. Like, the time I get with Styx when we're working on my music and stuff, it's like I'm just like, teach me.
Awesome.
Just like learning, about everything and anything. And he's a lot of fun. He's very talented. And so he's been crushing it. It was like, this is like some of the heaviest drums I've heard him do and stuff. I mean, Steel Panther, I love him to death. But I'm just grateful to have his time and be working with him. And then I also got a drummer dude that's done some stuff for this album too. His name's Mike Tirana. And Tirana's just like, he's dude is in his 60s, but he's in shape. He lives in Italy. He's playing his drums on a raft in the ocean. He previously, this guy's fucking awesome, dude. Like, he was
sounds fucking amazing.
He played with Yngwie Malmsteen. He played with Tony McAlpine. He played with one of the singers from Nightwish, and the guy is just all about it. He's into it. He's doing his music, and his whole thing is hashtag I won't stop the music. But look him up. I mean, just a killer dude. And so I got I'm working on a few things where I might have a couple of guest vocalists. I'm not going to mention who, but they're cool, and I can't wait.
Awesome.
Just
I
getting
can't
everything
wait.
done.
And you're saying this is going to come out next year? Maybe?
Let's see. Depending, I'd like to drop it at the beginning of the year. Just depends on how far I get, like with everything, because my daily routine is like I get up at 6, I start working. Company headquarters is in Israel, so it's like I'm fighting the time zone and doing my thing, for the work day, and then as soon as I'm done with that, it's like, okay, I'll start focusing on the music and stuff like that. And then you gotta, answer all the messages and, do all the business admin work of running a musical entity and all that. And then it's like, you got the kids and I'm married and my wife is awesome. And it's like, so we're always just doing all of our regular life stuff. Anyway, but, progress on the album right now, I'm like 9 songs in, probably going to make it 12 songs. So a few more songs, and then you got to do all okay, let's get the artwork done. Let's get the package done. Let's get the music videos ready, get the, all of the stuff that goes into launching an album. If I could drop it in January, I will. Just depends how far I get. I don't want to rush anything, but
don't, man. Put out the very best record you can.
First Becoming album came out like 1998, 99, right? Glorified demo. We played all kinds of gigs around, and did that, and then had kids, and then like I stopped doing music except for feeding my music habit in the church band for a period of time. The second album, Sonic Revelations, which is actually, in my opinion, our first album, right?
Right.
We dropped that in 2009, and that album, I wrote the whole thing, recorded it in my house, and then, I had Zeus, Chris Zeus Harris mix and master, and we released that album. And, Zeus has worked with, most recently like Rob Zombie and Queensryche, but Hatebreed is like, and Shadows Fall and Suffocation, all these bands are like on his roster, and so Zeus is like an audio wizard who just, worked wonders. And, thankfully I was able to maintain that relationship, and then he did the final mastering for In the Name of God many years later. So, 1998, then 2009 for Sonic Revelations, and then hiatus for a little while, building my career, kids growing up, and 2020 dropped In the Name of God. So this album won't take as long to release, but
Right.
you know, I mean, now I'm just like, okay, my main focus is just, you know, working, living my life, you know, and making music. And so,
Right on,
very
man.
grateful for that. Yeah. So
Very
this
cool.
next album, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited, and yeah, I can't wait to share it with the world and get people fired up.
Bro, I can't wait to hear it, man. But yeah, I think because one of the questions I was kind of trying to get at was like when you put this. I mean, you put it out there like almost smack middle in the pandemic. I mean, what was that like for you, man? I mean,
It was a challenge because of, well, so album was finished, it was written, everything was done, the artwork got finished. And I'll never forget, because I had to have surgery, right? I had Crohn's and rheumatoid arthritis, and
Oh,
it,
shit.
like really, yeah. So like right at the beginning of 2020, I was just like, oh my god, like sick and shit. I had to go in and have like remove part of my intestines, and I was laying literally in the fucking hospital bed after post surgery, and I'm on my phone. Trading messages with Melody Myers from Designed by Melody, who did our artwork and stuff for the album, and she does all of our
videos
music
too, right? And
Yeah,
she does an amazing job.
Yeah, she also manages Generation Kill, Rob Dukes from Exodus.
I love Generation Kill, man.
Yeah, so she manages them. She works with them. She used to work for a lot of other people in the scene, and she's just a delight to work with. But literally, I'm in the hospital post surgery. We're sending the emails, trading messages, and finishing the artwork. And then I get home from the hospital. I'm like, okay, let's go. We got everything ready. Let's get it off to the duplication plant. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, CDs are kind of back ordered, but you can just do your digital. I'm like, all right. So we did the digital release, and that was fine. But it only took like another extra month or so to get the CDs in stock. Probably we got like a few left, so almost sold out of that first run. So I'm stoked about that. But yeah, again, it was like a tough time because the world was changing and people were uncertain and people were freaking out, and everybody was trying to figure out what to do, right? So like all the people in the industry that are playing the concerts and all the bands that are making their living touring, they're just grinding halt,
Yep.
And so I have a lot of empathy for those folks,
Yeah, it was rough, man, for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the people the sound and the lighting and the the road crew and all that. It was just so hard on everyone. So I for me, I was just like, okay, I'm recovering. I'm just like dropping the album. I'm glad to be alive.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, like we released it. We had like 1,700 fans on Facebook. I didn't know what was going to happen with this album. I was just glad to, hey, this is my musical statement. I'm going to drop it, and then flash forward to today. Less than 2 years later, the Becoming Tribe on Facebook is like over 125,000, and we're selling CDs. We're getting checks for downloading of the music, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. Like you don't get rich. That's why I have a day job.
Right.
Support my music habit.
Well, it's funny because like I said earlier, I have obviously a lot of music in digital format because I'm an online DJ, but I still buy CDs, I still buy vinyl. I still like having that physical product as well.
Yeah, I love to look at like the artwork. I love to see the lyrics. I love to check out the package because it's like, for me, it's like kind of a whole concept. If you're just like hearing the song, you might miss a part of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so, but what happens is, people, they'll get turned on to like a track like Wish, and then they'll like, just like you or me, we'll like explore a catalog. Oh, I heard the song from this band, and I kind of liked it. And then you go and start getting into it, and then, some people, they're like, yeah, that's not for me. But then a lot of people, they're just like, oh, wow, this is cool, this is going deeper. And then they get into it, they become like what they call like a true fan, right? Where it's like, they're going to buy some merch, they're going to download the stuff, they're going to promote your stuff. And, our growth, is organic in the sense that like the fans are sharing. Like on any average day, it's like I've got 30 or 40 members of the Becoming Tribe out there sending our content out to other people, posting in groups, things like that. And so that's what's helping it to grow,
right?
And I think that the pandemic, yes, it was kind of turned things upside down and made it harder for the bands that were used to the traditional model of be on the road, be a touring t-shirt salesman, sleeping in a bus, smelling everybody's farts and doing whatever, just barely making it, and the record label's like slaving you, and you're coming home, broken and strung out, and the rest of your life's falling apart, So I didn't have any of those issues. So I was very grateful. So, I have always been of the belief, it's like, I'll play a show when I'm fucking good and ready, but I don't have to go out and do all that, right? It's like,
you're not obligated.
And I have a connection with the fans and the audience and stuff like that. Like, where I'm accessible. People, I'm answering messages and sending out CDs. Like, so when someone earns a top fan badge on our Facebook.com/becoming band, right? To earn a top fan badge, you got to share content, right? And this is like an active promoter fan of the band, or of becoming the musical entity. And, then they earn the badge. I ship them a free CD. So, that has been huge for us,
Awesome,
and so,
dude.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Congratulations on all that and everything. And, yeah, because it's really cool because, that's one of the things that I really do admire and respect about you is that you are an independent, unsigned band. And I was going to ask you, well, what are the pluses and minuses of being in a DIY or do-it-yourself artist? But you've kind of answered some of those questions already in a way, just by answering the COVID question.
I think that for me, having creative control is, that's my thing, right? I got to be able to do what I want when I want, and, that's how I always sort of been. But I think, we've had offers from labels in the past, and, I ultimately turned them down. I remember Roadrunner Records turned me down in right around the time Slipknot came out. I remember talking to Monty Carter. I'm like, yeah, man, you got the CD right? He's like, yeah, it's great. It's like, needs a little work on the production. You got some great music. He's like, but you ain't got a gimmick, dude. I just signed Slipknot. These guys are crazy. Have you seen them? I was like, okay. Thank you for your time, Mr. Connor.
It's interesting. My partner, the co-owner of the station, John Morris, a.k.a. DJ Ducats, he used to be an A&R guy for Roadrunner. He actually was a tour manager for Sepultura, and back in the day and stuff. So he told me some interesting stories about Monty Connor.
Yeah, I'm sure. The industry is designed a certain way. It's almost like a pyramid scheme, I feel like sometimes. The ones at the top, and everything's pay to play to some degree. Not pay to play. If you're running it like a business, it takes money to make money, right? Mm-hmm. I think that in terms of the pros and cons, I think it's just up to the individual artists, what's going to be easier for them. At this point, I need to hire some people because, I'm just fucking too busy. And I feel bad if, I'm like, oh, I didn't respond to those 30 messages. Jesus Christ, it's not a burden. But, there's everything else that goes into it. It's like, okay, I got to review this licensing agreement. Okay, I got to go do this, thing or that thing. And so, if you can manage it yourself, then great, but I think building, as an independent artist, building your team, okay, this is the person that carries out this function and that function, and being able to trust them,
right.
And count on them, because, there's plenty of people out there that want to take your money, ain't going to do shit for you, and going to try and tell you what to do.
Sure. For sure.
I mean, it's one of the music business is probably one of the dirtiest, shadiest business on the planet, and and then everybody wants to preach into oh, I'm all for the metal community. No, you're not. You're out for you. So a lot of people will build a website, and it's usually another band. They'll build a website, and this is the band for the metal community website, but they're only just promoting their band, and it's at the end of the day, and they're just trying to latch on to everybody else's stuff. So align your my advice for new artists or even current artists is build your business model, right? Build your brand, do the things, run it like a business, make sure everybody knows what's what, and there's no surprises, but learn the business, get a good attorney. I got a great attorney. I fucking love my attorney, dude. He's like a friend, he's
awesome.
He'll help, and then it's the different promotional entities that can help you get your stuff out. I mean, being the pro on being on a big label, let's say you're on a Nuclear Blast or one of those, or a Metal Blade, they got an established network. They could push stuff out there, and they could do all that, you know. So, you know, shout outs and kudos. Some of these labels, you know, like that have been around for a long time, they brought us some of our favorite bands ever.
Oh,
so
by
we're
all
grateful
means,
for them.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
The one that got me sad was John Z when he passed recently. Because remember, Megaforce Records coming up, you know, it's like, wow, you got all that stuff, you know.
I was Facebook friends with John. He was a really sweet guy, man, you know. Good guy. And like you said,
all about the metal.
Him, I mean, you're talking about a dude right there, him and his wife, man, they put their fucking money where their mouth is, man. Like, nobody you know, it's kind of funny, like, people forget that now, you know, because Metallica has gotten so big that it's like, hey, I remember a time when people just don't, I don't understand, like, how fucking out of the box they were, you know, like, nobody did shit like that, and them and all the other all the thrash metal bands, they opened the door for all that extreme metal and everything else that followed, you know, and just like Black Sabbath opened up the door for all the other traditional hard rock and especially heavy metal. We're talking metal. Sabbath, in my opinion, are the first. They're the fathers of it. I don't give a shit.
Masters of Reality, dude. Masters of Reality.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, there was some bands that were kind of heavy back then too, but they were more on the rock side. Like, I think that what made Black Sabbath metal was they had that, like, that doom, sludgy, fucking, what they refer to as like stoner metal today. Yeah. You know.
But it was metal. It was just metal back then, like you said. And yeah, I definitely think that, I think I could see both sides of it, because like you pointed out, you have total control, and sometimes when it's just like with a movie, you know, like I remember I saw an interview with Kevin Smith, you know, and he was talking about how his buddy, Scott Mosier, who produced all his movies, was like, dude, you know, the bigger the studio, the bigger the budget, the less control you have, and then you're essentially making a fucking movie by committee. And Kevin's like, I don't know if I could make a new movie like that. I don't even know if I want to make a movie like that. And that's the thing, man. You know, it's like if you're...
That's when you get that old saying, that too many cooks in the kitchen, you know?
Right.
You know,
and that happens a lot, man, you know? I mean... So,
well, sometimes you need that, right? So if you're like an artist who just, you know, like, I don't know, like I feel like I got everything I need, right? Like if I want to make a song, I could go play the drums, do this, that, the other. You know, when I, you know, get somebody else involved, it's like, you know, I want it to go beyond my personal capabilities, right? Like I'm competent to a point, but then once I get outside that competence level, I'm like, okay, this is what I want. You can do it, whatever, right? And everything's, you know, just, you know, everybody knows what's up, right? You're like, you can do the track, here you go. You know, it's easy. But I still write everything and do all everything, and, you know, not to say that if a major label came, dude, I'll give you a crazy marketing budget, you get, you know, I'll be like, okay. I mean, you got to listen to opportunities when they come your way, and only align yourself with the people who have integrity, people who you can, like, I grade all relationships, like, you know, like the old Lou Holtz philosophy, right? Can I count on you? Can I trust you? Are you invested in me? And do you really want to be there, right? Because everybody wants to be along for the ride when they know that you know, that's the best thing. But, you know, like, are you going to show up blood, sweat, and tears every day and, you know, be that person, right? So. Right on, man. If they're not, then, you know, hey, bye. Bye, Felicia.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, on that note, I think we're going to play another track off this album, and the one that I was wanting to do is How We're Living. Yeah.
How We Living. Yes, that was... we just released a video for Power Lines last week, but that was the video we released like a month ago. Things got like 300,000 plays on Facebook. It went viral. I mean, for us, viral, right? I mean, it's not millions of views, but because it struck a chord, right? How We Living, it's just like... That was your first song that I heard. You had sent me that video, I believe, or maybe Sam did. Somebody did, and I instantly liked it, and I loved the message, because that melody... the writings on the wall, right? The headlines. Yeah, Melody Myers made that video, and it was just really cool, man. And I was like, I really like a statement about the times, right? You know, it's like everybody's chasing after all this stuff, and it's like, I'm not living how this person's living. They're not living. It's like everybody's living kind of their own life, but what are you chasing after, right? It's like and then all the stuff in the headlines and the news and the media, it's making people freak out. And have all kinds of issues, and so just
Yeah,
find your Zen spot, And
I
find
love
your
how
Zen
you had like
spot.
some people that had like all these hits from their TikTok or whatever, and that's the thing. I don't want to like bemoan the internet, because obviously without it, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you today, Jason. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing at that metal
application.
station. Yes. So I'm one of those people that, hey, the internet's awesome, it's wonderful, I love social media. Of course, it's got its bad side to it, but you're always going to have the bad with the good. That's just the way life is, man.
It's duality, it's balance, it's nature. My point with that song is just very much like, hey, get live it how we're living, right? If you don't like something, change it, and don't chase after vain pursuits.
Yes.
That was my kind of message with that one. But yeah,
I liked it.
Blast that shit, Metal Mike.
We're back, man, with Jason Hardouin. How's you pronounce that again, buddy? I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Jason Hardouin.
Hardouin.
Yeah, you can just call me Jay.
All right, man. Hardouin, yeah. All right, man. I'm having a blast, dude. This is a lot of fun.
No, it's great to be here, Mike. I appreciate you having me on, and appreciate your support of the music and everything that Becoming is doing. And you get it. Like, you're one of the tribe members that gets it. You see it, and
sure,
it's resonating.
Sure. Yeah.
For that, I'm grateful, man.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and everything. And you answered quite a few of my questions. There was one question, though, or earlier I was going to ask you, well, what was the first instrument you learned to play? But you kind of answered that. You said bass. What's your favorite instrument to play?
Drums. I love playing the drums. It's just like the best thing at the end of the day. You're like, okay, let me just get on the drums and get your groove on,
Yeah.
And then it's like, but I play guitar. It depends, like what I'm in the mood for when I'm writing too, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, it just depends on what I'm doing at the moment. But like, if somebody said you can only play one instrument, I'd be like, okay, drums, but then I got to think, oh, I got this arthritis shit, rheumatoid arthritis. It's hard to do that, right? So that's why I'll get like somebody like Sticks It In You to come and throw down the drums,
Which is fucking awesome that you're getting him, dude. That is amazing. I cannot wait to hear this new record, dude. I'm right now. I'm like, holy shit, you got Sticks. That's amazing. That is amazing. But yeah, anyway, I think we're pretty much done here, Jason. I appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. And I think we're going to end the show, unless you have another song in mind. I'm going to let you pick the song, but I was thinking we could end it with Power Lines, since you just did the video.
That would be awesome.
Or if there's another song you'd rather end, we can do it with that way too. You are the DJ at this moment, my friend. So.
Oh man, on that metal station with Metal Mike.
Yes,
love it. Yeah, I would say play Power Lines, because that is our most recent video. And,
all right, man.
When I wrote that song, I put the drums down first. I had no idea what guitar part was going to be or anything like that, and I slaved over that drum track over and over again, and then I just built it from there. But lyrically, it just kind of fits so good right now with everything going on in the news and everything going on in the world, and people like just poisoning our minds with the power lines. I got people all fucked up, and nobody knows what's going on, and so at the end of the day, don't believe anything unless you see it with your own eyes, and there's never going to be any shortage of misinformation out there. And so if you want any official information about Becoming, feel free to check out facebook.com/becomingband, Instagram.com/thebandbecoming, YouTube.com/becomingbands. You can see all our cool videos and stuff. And, if you get confused by all that, you can always go to metalforlife.org. You can get yourself 6 free VIP song downloads from Becoming at metalforlife.org. And you can also go to linktree/metalforlife, and, you can use that as a jumping off spot to all of our other sites and stuff. But, Metal Mike, appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate you very much. Keep doing what you're doing with That Metal Station. I know the music community appreciates you, and you're doing an amazing job there, dude. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much, man. And all I can say to you, dude, is keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting the good fight, and stay metal, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, this is Power Lines by Becoming, from their latest album, In the Name of God, released in 2020. Once again, I've already told you 3 times, but I'm going to tell you one more time. Crank this motherfucker up right here on the Metal Mike Show on ThatMetalStation.com. Let's do